Iced coffee with Carl here for another episode of Insights and Ideas. What's up, fellow surfers of the internet? Today I wanted to spend some time talking about stuff that I don't like to brag about, but I do find fascinating, which is my commitment to serving underserved populations. Excuse me for the second while I just move stuff from one screen of my computer here so I don't have to constantly eyeball a different area here. Uh, while looking at you and talking to you. So yeah, um, been out of law school a long time, since 1987. Took a huge detour in my career early on away from litigation, but I was interested in inclined more personality wise to be a community organizer rather than a practicing litigation courtroom attorney. Interestingly enough, a gentleman who I've never met, but I had the privilege of attending Columbia College with, class of 1983, Barack Obama, the former president, um, was also a bit inclined towards community organizing early in his life. Now, when I say all that, doesn't mean that Obama and Berman would have been friendly in Columbia in 1982 or 83. I have a feeling, in fact, that we would have both agreed within 5 minutes that our interests were unrelated. Um, and that doesn't mean anything negative. It's just New York City is the kind of place where lots of different diverse people get to meet. And within a brief period of time, they figure out whether they're compatible, whether they have work interests that are compatible and coordinated. And, you know, Obama was a studious type from having read his book, which I have here over here on the shelf, Dreams from My Father. He was clearly a thoughtful gentleman in college, but he kept to himself. He transferred to Columbia, so although he graduated there, he didn't start at Columbia. And I also kept to myself in many respects. So we really may not have been fellow travelers, when, even though I say we were. But the fact is, after law school, I decided, and by the way, I was not there for law school. I was at Columbia for undergraduate. I went to law school at Duke, then I came back to New York. And at that time, I decided I wanted to not be a lawyer, but rather more of a nonprofit professional, if you will, running, organizing, setting up, establishing, and fundraising for charitable causes. And I did that quite successfully for about 15 years. During that time period, I developed a lot of insight into the needs of low income communities in New York City and by extension anywhere really in the United States, uh, particularly the problems that occur in minority pockets or areas within low income communities. I also became very sensitized to immigration and how America truly is a melting pot of different cultures. And the reason that I experienced that is I worked on Church Avenue in Flatbush. Now, if you Google this or you AI this, it was true 20 years ago that something like 500 languages could be spoken or could be heard within a 1 mile radius. And I'm talking about the corner of Church Avenue and Flatbush Avenue. That's really the heart of the Flatbush area of Brooklyn. I just loved working in Flatbush. I loved the whole vibe of Flatbush. I made some phenomenal lifetime friendships there. I had some transformational experiences as a professional. I can't say as an attorney because I was not working in the courtroom, but the people I met and the people I worked with and the things I saw and did were just fun and neat and just amazing. And again, as a community organizer and looking at the needs of a neighborhood like that back in the 90s from a community organizing standpoint, I'm proud to say that I was part of making a difference in making Church Avenue a better area. If you go there today, it's still rough and tumble, but it's charming and it's delightful and it's worth a stroll. Get out of your car and drive around. I mean, walk around, check out the coffee shops, the bars, the restaurants. Um, Hang out and talk to folks on the corner. Um, if you happen to be fortunate enough to meet a cop on the beat, introduce yourself, be polite, give them a minute of your day. They're probably just standing there looking around, just sizing up the situation, and they probably would be delighted to have an opportunity to chat with someone about something other than a policing situation. Um, and so it's just a neighborhood that I love and miss, honestly. Um, and so that work gave me depth insight into the problems and challenges of low-income minorities, immigrants, the homeless, disadvantaged people. I actually helped get going a homeless shelter in the Park Slope Armory. And I believe that to this day, there are homeless outreach and service programs at the Armory in Park Slope, Brooklyn. Look, I was a Brooklyn guy for many, many years. Um, I came back from law school and I wanted to work in Brooklyn. And I ended up living in Brooklyn for the better part of 15 years. I also developed experience that I still am proud to say that is part of my brain. I don't do this work now, but I developed experience and knowledge conducting research, designing program models, securing funding, and helping to implement legal services for the poor, social services for the poor, educational services for the poor, health and economic programs for needy individuals and families. Now, I did that both as a consultant, as a director of development, but also as a founder and a leader of a wonderful, wonderful nonprofit. Today, if you look up something called the Clothesline Project, you will find all sorts of interesting information. The Clothesline is a grassroots anti-violence initiative started by women to combat the terrible scourges of domestic violence, rape, and child abuse. It has since blossomed into a victim rights kind of a thing, and it's nationwide and it's grassroots and it's wonderful. Every year in April and October, you can find a clothesline in your community. And I know this for a fact. They're within 50 miles of anybody watching this video in the continental United States. There will be a clothesline display of t-shirts decorated by victims and survivors of, again, domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, rape, incest, murder, not the survivors, but the family members of the victims of murder, homicide, all sorts of terrible things. So it's really about turning victims into survivors, and it's a lovely thing. And I worked on that pretty much full time for about 5 years in the 90s. And through that work, I became quite sensitized to interpersonal abuse, violence, and trauma, both direct trauma that the individual experiences on a psychological level and secondary trauma. Those are issues that are near and dear to my heart. All right. And then flash forward to the present, I've taken all that knowledge into my work providing legal representation since 2004 to low-income individuals unable to afford retained counsel in misdemeanor criminal matters, felony criminal matters, family court matters, and appeals from those sorts of cases. So what's it to you? And you guys didn't sign up today for an infomercial about how wonderful Carl Berman is. I come at this video blog for insights and ideas. When I started all that work in the 90s, I had my own demons and my own darkness and my own struggles. And I went through some pretty tough times. But I'm 64 and a half years old, relatively healthy, although I do have a health battle that I'm working on with the help of Sloan Kettering Memorial Hospital in Manhattan. So there's that. And I have insights, I have ideas, I have feelings, I have thoughts about my own personal journey through cancer. But, the point is, we all have insights and ideas. We all have things that we want to share. And video blogging is an amazing alternative to podcasting. So if you're hearing this and you're inspired, check it out, try it out. I have no idea how to do podcasting. I tried and I gave up. But video is the easiest thing. You can do it. Anybody could do it. Next thing you know, you might be the next viral sensation. Thank you for stopping by. Please like and subscribe this channel, whether you found me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. And if you found me on YouTube, you have correctly landed on the YouTube channel for Insights and Ideas by Carl David Berman. See you next time. Bye-bye.